What's up, everybody?
Hi.
We are coming live from Minnesota. I'm going to wait a couple of seconds here before I start talking and introduce Chris because I want to make sure that you guys are hearing us. So we're going to wait for some people to hop on. You know, Facebook had some issues today with their live feeds. So let's make sure that we have people on here and that it's working. So I'm going to actually go to my Facebook Live group here, you guys, to make sure that you guys are seeing us, just to make sure there's no problems. Yes, look at that, Chris. We are live. It's working.
Look at that.
It's working. Okay, so we will get started as you guys start to hop on. I am so excited to introduce you to the amazing, beautiful Chris Cronick, who is a dear friend of mine, and she's actually, I'm going to probably start crying, but it's even just a miracle that she's sitting in this chair right now because she has had she survived death. And we're going to talk all about that. I'm going to introduce her and we're going to share her story of resilience and strength and her fighter spirit, but she should not be here. And so just the fact that she is blesses me and makes my heart so happy. And I can't wait for her to share with you her strength and her story, because I know for 100% for sure that you guys are going to be inspired. So welcome. Thank you so much for being willing to share your story, because I know it's still fresh and raw, you know, and
you'll see that probably today.
Yeah.
When I talk about it.
Yeah. So just to make sure, can you guys hear us okay? I want to make sure that you guys can hear us and that we are, I just want to make sure that you guys can hear. With you. Yeah. So those of you who are watching, because I know there's some of you on, just can you put in the put thumbs up, or just let us know that you can hear us?
A smiley face or a heart is my favorite.
Yeah. Just give me something that you hear us. Okay. Because actually they can, because
probably today.
Yeah, they can. I can. Okay. All right. So again, Chris.
Yes.
Just tell us about you. Just.
What do you want to know?
I mean, first of all, just share kind of, you know, just give us a little bit of insight who you are, and then we'll talk about, you know, what happened 7 months ago. But just tell us who you are.
Oh, well.
I know it's kind of a loaded question, right?
How about in 3 words, right? No, just kidding. Well, where do I start? Well, I'll kind of go back a little bit, so I'll give you a little bit of framework to kind of lead into my last little health journey that I had. So I was an indoor cycling instructor up until about 8 months ago. Taught a couple times a week, had great classes, loved teaching, was, you know, really motivated through fitness. And I got into indoor cycling because it was one of the few exercises that I could still do. I have rheumatoid arthritis diagnosed, I don't know, 20 years ago. Gosh, that makes me sound old.
Wow.
I have lupus, SLE. And if anybody knows what lupus is, you know what that is. And I've had 6 joint replacements.
Six. Like 5, 6, right? So tell us where. It's
2 bilateral hip, bilateral knee, which means both, an ankle, and an elbow. And I also had to have open heart surgery. I landed in the hospital about 7 years ago with blood sepsis, which is a kind of a severe blood infection. Your whole
That was
body.
7 years ago?
Yeah.
That was the first. Was that the first kind of?
The first kind of.
Yeah. First kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, I recovered from that well, but then I had to have open heart surgery to replace some valves in there. And, you know, life kind of after that kind of went on. I got certified to teach, and I started teaching because I was like, okay, I found something that I can still do and that I loved, and I had music and I had all that kind of fun stuff. And I just,
She could tell I had a question.
I did.
So just to rewind 1 second. So just in case people don't know, what is lupus?
Okay.
Because we know you had 6 replacements, joint replacement, and that was because of lupus, correct?
Well,
what is lupus? Just those who don't know.
It's because of the rheumatoid arthritis, actually.
But is lupus is rheumatoid
They're very. I'll put it. Okay, I'll help you out here. Okay.
rheumatoid.
They're very, very similar in that they're both autoimmune diseases, which means that your body is basically fighting itself. And with RA, rheumatoid arthritis, it chooses to fight its normal joints and connective tissue, where lupus likes to target organs. And by organs, I mean your skin, your kidneys, whatever, your heart, whatever it is. So, having both of those puts me in, an autoimmune category. I also have celiac disease too, but that's not that big of a.
Who's counting, right?
I mean, at this point, right? That's kind of the easiest thing to manage, these days. So that's kind of the framework of what led up to this last little journey that I had about, it was mid-October of 2018, 8 months ago. I started having this pain in my knee. And I remember I taught 2 nights or 1 night before, and I thought, I'm probably overworking my knee because of the RA, because of a flare. A flare is like acute disease activity for anybody that doesn't know. I thought, okay, went to the doctor. It's an infection. I had an infection in my replaced knee. And the thing that they worry about when you have a replacements is that infection likes to go to those joints. So what had happened, and this is all has been told to me because the minute I got into the hospital, I was bye.
Yeah, it was like within 7 days, wasn't it?
It was fast.
It was fast.
It was fast. I remember I woke up and I looked around like, where the heck am I?
Yeah.
And I was recovering from 3 surgeries. Had no clue. I had no clue. So what they ended up doing is they found infection in my elbow.
As you can see here, I don't know if you guys can see, but she's got a brace on her elbow here.
A brace right now.
Which was still from the surgery. Was that the second surgery? So the first surgery was the knee.
Knee, yep.
Because that's staph infection.
Yep.
And then they went to the ankle or the
ankle, yep.
The ankle.
It was all done in 1 day, actually. So 3 surgeries in 1 day. And, like I said, that was October. So I haven't been able to have my surgery yet. So I have to keep it locked right here. I have no joint in this arm right now, like none. So it's kind of stuck right there. So, okay. So I wake up from that and I'm, where am I? What is all this stuff? And I realized that I had an infection really bad and they start treating me for that. Well, then it's just kind of downhill from there. If any of you have ever spent any amount of time in a hospital, you know that that's where you go to get stuff. And that's exactly kind of what happened. It just snowballed. Things started snowballing. The infection ended up messing with my kidneys. I went on dialysis, which is, it kind of filters.
Yeah, you gained how many?
120 pounds.
You guys, she gained 120 pounds of water because her kidneys were not working.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine how uncomfortable that is, right? I mean, gaining, like if I gain 5 pounds, I'm like, 120 of inflammation, water. That's unbelievable.
My skin was it was like, even if anyone looked at me, it just hurt. Yeah. It hurt. And I was confined to a bed. So at this point, atrophy of my muscles started to happen.
Yeah.
And it just.
So then they put you on dialysis and you did lose some of the water.
Yeah.
But then what was the next surgery? Then what happened after that? So then is when the heart started happening, right?
Then what happened is, I just started having issues breathing. In comes the heart surgeon saying, okay, we've got to do an open heart surgery. And I was like, God, no. I mean, I've done it before. And I will say that out of all of my surgeries, it was, kind of one of the easier ones to kind of get through.
Amazing.
Because, working out is basically the therapy. But, I was confined to a bed and I was, battling infection. So they did open heart surgery and they
Number one.
Open
heart surgery number 1.
number one. Found out that my valves weren't working right. In comes number two.
Number two.
Now, I don't remember which order this all came in, so forgive me on my...
That's okay, Chris.
Yeah. One of them was to repair an aorta, a tear in my aorta.
But all of them were because of the infection.
Yeah. Basically, infection had taken over my heart. And then the last one, number four, 4 heart surgeries, open heart surgeries, and this is about within a month and a half.
4 heart surgeries within a month and a half, you guys.
Yeah.
Plus the 3 on her joints, the elbow, the knee, and the ankle. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a total of, that's 7 just right there. But 4 open hearts. I mean, imagine this. Just put yourself in this position, right? Oh, I know you're gonna make me cry. I mean, somebody wants to talk to you. So, okay. So then after the 4th, then the last one was the most critical, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where they almost lost you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the other 3 were obviously serious, but this last one, I was at the hospital with your fiance.
Yep.
On that surgery, and
Hi,
it was,
baby.
and it was pretty intense.
Yeah. What had happened is, so I was on a ventilator, a life support. They basically put me in a coma. They brought my body temperature down. They removed the oxygen. So I was without oxygen for 18 minutes. And they tried to keep it under 30. Open heart, the whole thing. 12-hour surgery. And aside from the open heart surgeries, they left me open for a couple days at a time because they can't put you back together. They had to leave it open, basically. And then I'd have to have another surgery to put it back together. And, again, it's stuff that I'm kind of still learning and still processing.
Still very hard, isn't it?
Yeah. And, it's getting better with time, that's for sure. And when I talk about it, it gets better and better too.
It's therapeutic to talk about it, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So after that 4th surgery, there was a few weeks there where you were uncertain of whether or not the surgery was going to hold, right? And so once you realized that this surgery was finally going to stay and stick, tell us what happened next. Tell us some of the process that you went through after, realizing that you had been through 4 surgeries, because you were unconscious for almost four months, right?
Weeks
3
at a time.
Yeah, it was just it must have been weird to.
It was like, yeah, it, to have people tell you what happened with things. And, and all of this is, January and February.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that long ago. And it really, I just explained the health stuff. I didn't explain any of the emotional stuff that you go through.
You want to talk about that for maybe just a couple minutes?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you say emotional stuff, what does that mean?
Well, it's cathartic to talk about this, but there's elements that you're inconveniencing people.
Big one. You guys can relate to that, I'm sure. You have that feeling of just being dependent on somebody else.
And my fiance lives, 2.5 hours away. Having my 81-year-old dad up there, just being kind of feeling like a burden. And most of the time when people would visit, I would be sleeping. So I didn't really know a lot of times people were there, but I knew a lot, I did know people.
And just so you know, I know you felt like a burden, but nobody felt that way. Nobody felt that you were a burden, but I don't need to say that again, but just, that, but so what else?
It's how you feel,
Yeah, it is. It's legit, man,
I was, can you guys hear my heartbeat?
Oh,
I don't know if you can or not, but I have mechanical valves and they're really loud and they're beating off the hook right now. Um, Emotional toll of just of not of being a burden on people, but also some of the things that I experienced in the hospital. I had, horrible nightmares and kind of dreams that felt really real, and that was hard to really sort through. And someday I'm going to talk more about that. And but right now I'm just kind of getting it all together in my head and what that looks like and what that feels like. And unfortunately, I wasn't myself for quite a while. And that is because of the anesthesia, the pain meds that I was on, being under for so long, and then just being on a ventilator and having open heart surgery. Those are the causes for that kind of stuff. And I just,
How did you find the strength, Chris, honestly, when you're in that such a low place and you have all the odds against you, even your medical team, where sometimes you're like, you know what, guys, we just don't know. It's like a 50-50 chance, right? And you hearing that too. I mean, and you're how do you keep the fight, right? How do you keep that momentum to just want to fight through this? How do you do that?
I guess at the time, I mean, thank God I wasn't really aware of, I mean, I knew when my doctor came in and said, we have to do another surgery, I was just crushed. I mean, I would just crush my spirit every time, because I knew what that meant. I knew I'd have more of those dreams and those nightmares, and I'd have to be under, and I'd have to burden people, and I'd, it just all of that stuff over and over and over again. And it just felt like it would never end. And I guess I wasn't aware how close I was to death. The people around me were, and I wasn't. In fact, my surgeon called my fiance and just said, listen, I need to know what you want me to do. I'm at the point where I can go either way on this, and I need to know what you want me to do. And he just said, keep fighting, keep working on her, And I think for me, I never questioned. I have never been this way. I've never questioned, why is this happening to me? It never enters my mind. I obviously know that I'm supposed to be going through this for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that reason is not clear. And sometimes that reason changes. And I'm sure it'll change in a year from now. But I know it was for a reason. And, I always found a reason beyond myself to keep fighting. That I think that's the biggest thing. I didn't want to let anybody down by dying.
Oh my gosh, really? That was your thought process? Yeah, and you would have let a lot of people down, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I just didn't want to.
Because most people, when they're in pain, and I see this a lot because I work with clients who are, well, not near death, but they're just in so much pain and they want to give up. They're just like, I don't know, I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to be in pain like this. So just give some advice to these ladies who just are at their wits' end, and what can they do just to help encourage them to not give up.
Well, a couple of things that I always think of, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, I go, you know what, this could be worse. I mean, at least, okay, I'm walking around with this big 10-pound boot on my leg, and I got a crutch, and Terry's rolling up on curbs to pick me up. Like, I mean, I'm not driving right now. It's like, at least I can get out and I can walk. Okay, so then it's finding the stuff that I can do, and I hone in on that. I focus on what I can do, and that seriously gives me like a lot of power in this, focusing on, okay, this could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the right thing, but it's just kind of always what I've done. And I, even throughout all this, I was so grateful for waking up every day.
Oh, yeah.
I would thank you, God, for letting me wake up today, even though I'm in more pain than I've ever known. Um, just all this stuff, like a mountain of stuff. And then your head starts getting at you and oh my gosh, what about the bills? And what about this? And what about that?
Mhm.
And I think I just stayed in the moment. I just didn't think far ahead. I didn't try to go to those places.
Mhm.
I would allow it for a little bit. And this has always been my kind of my power secret, is that whenever I got the news, because I've had a lot
A
of
lot of
news,
bad
a
news.
lot of news come at me. And I go, oh, okay, this sucks. And I allow myself to mourn, and I allow myself to have a little pity party. But I also have like, okay, there's a time limit on that. Let's
Mhm.
get moving. Let's
Love
figure
that.
out a plan.
Love that. Love that.
I think, and I owe that to my dad. He taught me how to do that.
Mhm.
But I think it's just something that I've always just
Mhm.
done.
Yeah, since I've known you, you've always been that way where it's like something happens, and it's like, okay, I'll feel sorry for myself for an hour. And
Yeah,
then it's like,
whatever it
let's move
is,
on.
it's
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
because we get news, all of us, all the time
All the time.
with ourselves or our
Mhm.
family that is life changing. I mean,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
life changing. And hi, Alice.
Hi, Alice. Hi, Laura. Hey, Angela. Say just I'm gonna say hi to you guys, but we are gonna take some questions. So be thinking if you have any questions for Chris or myself, just go ahead and type them in. We'll get to for sure some questions from you guys because I'm sure you're dying to ask her some questions. So
Yeah, and I think the last thing on this is accepting the help that kind of comes to me.
was it hard for
Accepting.
you to accept help?
Are you kidding? I think it's hard for all of us, especially as women.
Mm.
Like, oh, we're gonna do it all,
Mm.
and we have this front that we want to show the world. And I mean, Terry saw me in the hospital. I did not look like this. I did not put makeup on for 7 months. I didn't have regular clothes on for 7 months. I mean, I lived in a gown.
Well, you guys saw the picture. Actually, if you look up in the banner up there, that picture of her, right? Well, how do you do that? Look at her at all the tubes. That was that after your first heart surgery? Do you remember? Yeah, I don't even remember, but I mean, just all tubes. I know for sure this was when you had a lot of the weight from the kidney, when your kidney's not working. I remember your fiance actually saying that you were 100 pounds of water weight. And another thing too, I don't know if you want to talk about your fiance, but I think Derek was another huge inspiration for you to want to fight. He's an amazing man. And
Absolutely. I thought about
yeah.
him, and I thought about my dad, and I thought about my family, and I thought of just reasons outside of me that kept me and keep me going. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we can get so caught up in our own little stuff, and it's like, I thought about every day, I thought about the stuff that they're going through, and they're doing so much to help me, and I just eternally grateful.
Yeah.
But
So fast forward to when you were released from the actual released.
Yeah.
When you were let go, when you were discharged from the regular hospital, then you had to go to a rehab for a
Yep.
while, right? And that was a month.
Yeah, then I went
And
to.
then yes, tell us a little bit about that and that process.
I thought once I got out of the hospital, I'm going home. I'm going to be walking up the street, and I'm going to be doing spin classes again. No, 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 no. I couldn't even hold. Literally, I couldn't hold my phone up to my head. I was so weak. I had atrophied to the point of like it's amazing if when you don't use your body every day, how fast it goes and what goes.
Yeah.
And so I went to a second place that was less medical, a little bit more therapy. I went there for a month. And then after that, I went to just they call it an acute rehab. I just went to this acute rehab place, and we just focused on walking. And, again, when I was in the hospital, I would dream of the day. I mean, I can remember this, sitting in bed, wishing I could just sit up or lift my legs up the way they wanted me to.
Yeah.
Chris, just lift your legs up. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, think about that, you guys, because she first of all, she has a big boot on. She had open heart surgery. She was on her back for 7 months, well, 6.5, but basically on your back.
Mm-hmm.
It was until the last few weeks that did they hoist you? They kind of hoisted you.
Yeah.
I'm using these terms. I probably should.
No,
are probably very professional,
no, it's
but
actually real.
But they do it like a hoist where they get you up to,
It's like a hammock, and it's just like up out of the,
Yeah.
and I would go from my bed to a chair. That was my day. A bed to the chair, chair to the bed to the chair, because you can't lay on one.
And so it must have been just so uncomfortable.
Oh,
You couldn't lay on your stomach. You couldn't lay on your
No.
side.
No.
It was always on. So basically this position and just variations of the body angle here.
Yeah.
Sitting, laying way back, sitting up. I mean, that for 7 months.
And then, fighting, not getting a bed sore on my butt because, I mean, that I had pressure sores just from just not moving. So it was pretty amazing to me how fast I had atrophied. But I will say this, as fast as I go down, I tend to rebound really fast.
You
too.
Think? Jeez,
well, and
girl.
I didn't mention that I also had a tracheotomy.
Yeah, so if you guys probably can't tell, but her voice is kind of raspy and sexy. That's because of the tracheotomy is.
Well, I had a oh, thank you, Alice. I'd been intubated, I don't know how many times, but at one of the last surgeries I couldn't breathe on my own. And they said, well, we're going to have to give you a tracheotomy. So my first thing I think of is like the people that talk with the thing in their, and I was like, yeah, and I had to have another surgery. I also had to have a feeding tube. I stopped eating.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the feeding. That's
I know,
right.
we forget all this stuff.
Oh my word.
So I had
it just
a
never
feeding
ends.
tube
Yeah, I don't.
because I couldn't
Girl.
eat. And that in and of itself is just a pain, because that's like I don't know if anybody out there has a colostomy bag or whatever it's called, but it's not fun. And so I had that. I had, PICC lines all over. Any of you guys are nurses out there, you'll know what I'm saying. It was just like a mess.
Look at her. Isn't it incredible? I mean, look at her.
Well,
it blows my mind. It's actually a miracle. I mean, Chris knows this, but I prayed for her literally every day, and it's a miracle that she's alive. And this is why I think there's an amazing future for her. We're not sure what, we were talking about this actually before we got in the call. It's like, what's next for you? I wanted to write a book because I think it'd be so inspiring. But I mean, just can you believe, this is just a month ago, a month ago, she was still in the hospital. You guys, month and a half about, right?
Yeah.
And look at her. Seriously, it's incredible. It really is incredible. So that's why I just wanted you to share with the group. It's like, we all look at our lives and think, it puts things in perspective is what I'm saying. It's like she said, things could always be worse, but for her to say that, I don't know, things could get much worse, honestly, at the time when she was going through that. But that's why I just wanted you to share, because I think that you have so much power in how you can inspire people because of what you went through.
Well, and I hope to inspire people to just move. It's one thing to read somebody's story and go, oh, that was nice, and take the book and put it down and go on about your life. But to really have it sink in and change you, I think that there's power in that. And that's what I feel like my calling will be, to just start getting people to move and change
Mhm.
and not just think about it, not just go, oh yeah, that was nice for her, but I don't know if I can do that,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I think too is, you know, you don't live in the past. I mean, you remember the past. You of course you remember, but you don't live there. You don't live there, and none of us should. You know, if we live in our past, if we live there and we stay there, we'll never grow. We'll never get better. So yeah, there's going to be periods of time, and even when I had cancer, I'm not going to lie. It's like, you know, I look back on that situation. I still think about it, you know, and it brings pain, and I think about situations, and it's challenging sometimes, but I don't live there. I don't
Yeah.
stay there.
Yeah.
And it's when we stay in those bad places where we'll never grow and our health will actually decline. I
Yeah.
really believe that
I do
strongly
too.
in my heart.
I do too.
You
I'm
know?
convinced that I got RA in the first place because of my lifestyle. I'm convinced of
No,
it.
I got cancer because of my lifestyle for sure. What part of your lifestyle do you think it was?
Well, I was, I've always been type A. I've always been go, go, go.
Yeah.
Um, my diet was kind of, I'd always been into, working out and diet and fat loss, but it was never for like health. It wasn't for living and fuel for my body. I didn't view food that way. It was more of a kind of a reward punishment thing. It wasn't to fuel my body.
Yeah.
And I think that has been a huge awakening too
Absolutely.
in what I went through before and what I went through now. Um, because when you don't have nutrition in your body, like real nutrition, and what happens when you do, I mean, that's why it happened so fast, is because I filled my body with, greens and protein and, all that kind of stuff. So I'm convinced that my lifestyle then probably aided in
Yeah.
hurrying up that process. I don't know. I mean, they say it could be hereditary. They say, there's 1,000 different things. Doctors don't know at the end of the day. They just treat it, and that's all that they had done with me. And but I will say what you say, not living in the past. I mean, I didn't just have RA. I had severe rheumatoid arthritis where I had to quit my job. I mean, I couldn't get out of bed. I was in so much pain. No meds worked. I mean, that's it. It was debilitating arthritis, and so I and then the lupus, came after that from actually meds, and um,
So I mean, you've just been through so much in your life,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And yet I see you today as like a like I see you as almost like a new person starting a new venture,
yeah.
you know? I see that as like you've been given, not that you needed to be given a second chance, but it's like you've been given a second
Oh
chance,
yeah, I
you
say
know?
that probably every day. Like
Yeah.
I have a second chance. Like it's such the. I remember the first day I got out of the hospital. Like I was at home. I was at home, and I could open the window. Like you can't open
Oh,
windows in the hospital. I opened the window and there
oh,
were birds outside.
I remember you. Oh, I remember
I
that.
just
I
sat
do
on my
remember.
bed with my
I
dog, and
I remember asking you when you got to Iowa, because her house is in Iowa, and when the very first weekend you were there, I remember asking her, I'm like, so what are you enjoying the most? And she's like, I'm sitting outside in a chair listening to the birds, and my dog is at my feet. And just the simple things in life like that, the simple things like that she couldn't have and didn't know if she was ever going to be able to have. And so we just want to encourage you guys to just really reflect on, and you guys, I talk about this all the time in our weekly lives, but gratitude, the attitude of gratitude. We have to be thankful for what we have. We're always going to have things we are not grateful for. We're always going to have pain in life. Okay. We're always going to have things that are bad, but we have to be thankful for, things that are good. And we have to focus on things that are positive in our life. And that sometimes has to supersede the pain, because we all have pain, and the degrees of pain are different, obviously. And some of you guys, I know you're in severe pain, and it's like some days you're like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can make it. I don't know if I want to make it.
well,
And
I'll tell you, like I don't know how or why, but I always have hope for what's ahead. like just staying hopeful too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's the saying out there, things can change.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a big campaign right now. And it's like, it can get better.
Yeah.
And I just kind of cling to that too. It might look different, but it can get better. I mean, it just certainly looks different now. And I have 2 surgeries left to go. I have things that I'm working out, just, with a whole host of other things. But, I just, one day at a time, baby.
Right. I mean, seriously. Let's open it up for some questions. Does anybody have any questions? I see quite a few of you on here. We would love to, Chris would be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Hi, Bev. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Ingrid. Hi, girl. How are you?
You can get personal too. I don't.
Really? Okay.
Well,
yeah.
I'm not shy.
No, you're not. You're not shy. So go ahead. If you guys have any questions, feel free to chime in and ask. Well, I'll kind of be watching the comments here. So what's next for you? What do you first talk about what's next as far as the appointments? Are you still in therapy? Are you still seeing doctors? What's kind of the
Well, it's all kind of settled down right now. I saw some kind of ologist every week.
Some kind of ologist. That's funny.
Every week since I've been out, I've been in physical therapy, occupational therapy. But that's all coming to an end. And it'll start back up, when I have my neck surgery.
So the next surgery is your elbow. So tell these ladies, so when you had the 6 replacements,
yeah.
So they're real joints, right? But is there a joint in this one? I can't remember.
No, so what they do.
Yeah, explain that, because that always gives me a little bit.
In a joint replacement, so you have your arm up here and your arm down here, right? I don't know if you can see that. So what they do, this is fun stuff. They hollow out your bone and they put metal on one side and then they put metal on the other, right? And then in between that metal is a plastic. It's kind of like acts as your joint. So it's metal and plastic in there.
Okay.
So what had happened is the plastic poly had gotten infected.
Yeah.
They left the metal in there. So that's good.
They took out all the plastic. So just the metal's in there.
Yeah.
That's why you can't move it.
Yeah.
So now they'll go back in and replace everything, the metal too, or just
hopefully not.
Okay.
I mean, she doesn't know until she gets in there. But
and that's it's a pretty simple surgery, right?
Well, nothing is ever simple with me. I will always face infection. I have infection always there haunting me. So nothing is ever easy.
Yeah.
But it compared to a 12-hour surgery, yeah. So then that, and then the one after that is going to be an ankle either replacement or probably a fusion. So
that'll be nice. You don't have the boot anymore, right?
Yeah, I'll still kind of walk probably. All kinds of.
So Alice says you're both awesome, inspiring. Tabitha, congratulations to you, such a good journey. Karen. Why do I always call you Katrina? It's the funniest thing in the world. That's gonna have to be your new name, Karen. But Karen Petrina is in my group, and I always call her Katrina.
Okay,
put the two together.
But Karen, makes sense. I did that too.
I actually kind of like that. So if I ever call you Katrina, it's just my brain. It's just I'm talking fast. So Karen says she's so inspired right now. It's awesome. Aww. Victoria, how can you lower blood sugar? I'll get to that. Alice, I am working with diabetes, but my husband has RA, is on Humira now.
Yeah.
And he's in pain all the time. Any suggestions for him?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm not going to say anything about meds or drugs. I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to be an expert on it. All I could ever do is share my experience. I will say, when I was diagnosed with celiac disease, which is allergy to wheat and gluten, I also then started thinking, I feel a lot better. Yeah. Isn't that amazing how food can make you feel worse or better? So I kind of started putting some pieces together in my head, and I started down the path of a elimination diet. and I started thinking about all the things that make your body inflamed.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized through that is certain foods, and I never like to recommend exactly what they are
Right.
for other people. I'll just say this is what it
Yeah.
was for me.
Yep.
For me, it was dairy was a
Mm-hmm.
big time cause of inflammation. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
was like,
Yeah.
and the funny thing is it never occurred to me. I never put it
Yeah.
together because it wasn't
Yeah.
immediate.
Mm-hmm.
The reaction wasn't immediate. Like
Mm-hmm.
we all know anaphylaxis shock,
Mm-hmm.
right? We all know if somebody has a peanut allergy or a shellfish, they get it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
When you have something like that with wheat and gluten or dairy,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's not until a day later, a
Mm-hmm.
couple days.
Yeah.
So I really had to come kind of in tune with my body.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say that the diet part of it was huge.
Yeah.
Was
And
huge.
I'll answer that just because I am a functional nutritionist, and I actually do know that, wheat, gluten, and dairy do cause inflammation, which will contribute to your arthritis and pain and chronic pain. So I think that advice is great, Alice. I think you should talk to your husband and make sure that you guys are really reading labels and get him off of gluten now and really decrease, if possible, eliminate dairy, all dairy, and also wheat, and try that for give it a month and you let me know if there's any change in his pain or even maybe the possibility of him being able to decrease his meds. You never know. I would try that for sure.
And I will tell you that it's a million times easier these days to be gluten-free.
Right?
I mean,
you should know. You always buy gluten-free, and
I don't really eat bread on a daily basis. I just think it's kind of empty calories. It's like I like to eat food that is going to give me a big bang for my buck. Broccoli and what you saw.
Yeah, we just went out for lunch before this, but we've traveled together in the past, and we're known as the kind of like the Thelma and Louise is like the cauliflower and the broccoli, right? So it's like I am like big bowl of cauliflower when we travel, and she's like big bowl of broccoli, and then we're both eating like, it's so funny.
I'm like, I gotta be full. I can't just eat a salad. Like I can't. Give me some like substance.
So how has your appetite been since your talk about that a little bit.
Dear Lord, I can't.
Because you went from a feeding tube to, how do you, are you eating a lot now? Is it?
Yeah, I've gotten to the point now. When I was first in the hospital and getting out, my doctors were like, eat everything, eat anything, eat. You can't eat enough. Now I'm kind of like, I eat when I'm hungry. I stop when I'm full. I eat what I'm craving. But I also have like an internal sensor of like, okay, like last week I went on this, what did I get into last? It was waffles, gluten-free waffles. And so then I was like, okay, I'm done with that. And then it was gluten-free donuts. And then I was done with that. It's like, I have it and then I get it out of my system and then I move on.
Yeah.
And then I have a couple of good days of like a lot of broccoli. And,
yeah. Okay, so Karen has a question. How do you know if eating wheat is causing a person inflammation? So first of all wheat has gluten in it. So when you eat wheat, you're putting gluten in your body. And Karen, I would advise you to, in the videos, I did a video on acute and chronic inflammation, which talks a lot about what wheat is doing as a slow inflammatory response in your body. Basically, the wheat, there's a chain of molecules in the wheat that doesn't break down in your gut. It's the gluten. It doesn't break down in your gut. So when you eat wheat, you're not breaking it down. It's causing punctures in your gut lining. So that is causing inflammation. And when the lining breaks, that's when food and toxins get into the bloodstream, which causes leaky gut and things like that. So again, I would watch some videos I did on that, but I can promise all of you that even if you do not have an immediate symptom from eating wheat initially, it is doing, if you eat a lot of wheat, it's doing it is doing some damage. It is. It's just, our bodies are not designed to eat wheat or digest gluten.
And
Great question.
Can I add to the wheat and gluten thing? Because I know it's like a hot topic now. A couple things on that. The first is if you think you might have any kind of celiac issue going on, get tested. You want to get tested because you want a complete wheat and gluten-free diet. Not just, I don't eat bread and I don't eat pasta, but I'm still eating all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It's got to be a complete adherence. And I will tell you,
Mm-hmm.
when I first was diagnosed, I was like, nah, no.
And you noticed, didn't you? Flare-ups when you ate it?
Here's what I noticed.
Yeah.
You never know how you feel until you remove something.
Yes.
It was like, that was my normal. So I was used to my normal. But when I removed it, I was like, oh,
yeah,
I can see clear. Yeah, it was like that. It was like
awesome.
that. It was like, oh my gosh, I had a fog that I didn't even know I had, and an energy.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the side effects is for sure brain fog.
So just get in tune too. I would recommend getting in tune with what you eat and how you feel after, and maybe like a day after the same day. Like doctors always say, their best medicine, how they can tell how you're doing, how do you look and how do you feel?
Yeah.
You know, I went to the doctor today and he's like, well, you look great. How do you feel? I was like, I feel great. Bam. So I'm better, you know, and my numbers prove that. So be in tune with how you feel.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
and if you don't feel good, there's things you can do, you know, to like you said, the process of elimination. You know, I tell my clients all the time, there's so many of my clients who have food allergies, right? And they don't even know they have food allergies. So what we do is we just do a process of eliminating. I look at their food logs and whatever they're eating, and I say, hey, let's try this. Let's try removing this particular item for a week and let's see how you feel. Or let's try adding this. Or so again, it's really being in tune with that. And Judy Schmidt says, you should write a book or make a movie out of your story. You look great.
Oh, thank you, Judy.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Well, I'm taking numbers if you know of anyone. I don't know.
I agree with you, Judy.
This one has 2 books written for me already.
I think she should write it, but we already talking about a book she should write, and I know a movie producer, so I'm thinking maybe we should look him up. But anyway, so if there's any other questions, you guys, please, now is this open. This is an open forum. You guys can ask us anything that you want. And my husband just tuned in. Hi, Mark Daly.
Hi, Mark.
Mark, seriously, look at her. Doesn't she look amazing?
Thank you.
I'm serious. I'm just like, I couldn't believe when I pulled up today because I hadn't seen you since the last time I saw her was
in person
in the rehab facility when she was just leaving to go to Iowa. And so, you know, I've seen, you know, we've talked, I've seen some pictures of her on Facebook, but seeing her in person, it's just like, what just happened? It's a miracle. And it's her fighter spirit. It's like she's taking care of her body now by, like she said, putting good nutrition in her body, and just it's amazing. And your mindset. Talk about mindset. I mean, seriously, that's a huge part of this too. If Chris this whole time would have played the victim mentality the entire time. I mean, like she said, there's periods of time. But if she would have said to herself, "Oh my gosh, I give up. I'm going to die. I don't want to do this anymore," she would have died.
Well, I think the fighter spirit comes from, so this is from my fiance. This is what he said. He said, you have such a huge heart that your huge heart wouldn't allow you to let anyone down. Yeah. You know, and there's truth to that. Like I care too much to not care about myself. I care too much about my dad and my future husband and his kids and my ex and you know, like all of those people that are in my life, like and I guess I refuse to be a statistic on anything.
There you go. There's the name of your book. Well, you can't use the refuse. That's mine. Okay. Refuse chemo, refuse diabetes, refuse. No, I'm totally kidding. Refuse. That's awesome. It's true.
I've kind of applied that through pretty much everything in my life because
awesome.
My struggles haven't just been with health. It's been a whole lot of other things.
Yeah.
But,
Karen asks, how do they test for celiac?
Well, if you suspect that you might have it, you first go to the doctor. They do a blood test, which is called I forget what it's called. They do a simple blood test. I didn't think I had it. I was like, no, I don't have it. I don't look like I have it. My aunt told me, go get it tested. I have it. You might have it. Because it does run in families. That does. So they do a simple blood test. 0 to 20 is like normal. Mine was like 240.
Oh my
It
goodness.
was off the chart. I was
Yeah.
like, what? How is
Wow.
that? I was 25 when I got
Wow.
diagnosed. So I had lived probably my whole life
Mhm.
having this.
Right.
So anyway, so what they tell you is continue to eat gluten, to continue your diet. And what we're going to do is we're going to test you, kind of do a before and after test. So you do an endoscopy, colonoscopy,
Mm.
and they look at your
Mm.
innards and all that kind of stuff. And it's no fun,
Yeah.
but they give you fun drugs. I don't know.
They give you fun drugs.
You get it done, and that's how you get diagnosed. And then it's a strict adherence to that.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't sound like very fun. But, earlier she said, her fiance said she has a big heart, which I agree with, but she also has now it's a loud heart. It's so pretty.
Can you hear it?
I can.
Oh, that's funny.
It's actually pretty sounding. It's like, bum, bum. It's so cool. So she's got a big heart and then a loud.
A loud.
It's loud.
Heart.
It's
Oh,
so
gosh.
because it's valves in there, right?
Yeah.
It's like the valve. Is that the valves clicking? Is that what the sound is?
Yeah. So they can use different things for your valves in there. They can use cadaver valves. They can use pig valves, or they can use mechanical. And I have the mechanical, and they just kind of. It's like, just think of like a kitchen door that swings open and closed.
Mm.
That's what it's doing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. That's what it's doing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Do you guys have any more questions? Go ahead and type them in. And otherwise, I think we're going to wrap up here. But is there anything else you'd like to share? Is there anything that, you can get some advice you can give these ladies? And we've given them a lot of advice, but is there anything that you want to just say to?
Keep working with this lady.
Oh.
That's for sure.
This is not a plug.
No. I mean that because, and she didn't know I was going to say this, by the way. I mean that because I don't have all the answers to stuff. So I look to other people for answers. And I look to people who have walked the walk and talked the talk. And you have.
Mm.
And that means more to me than any person with 15 different nutrition degrees, honestly.
Mm.
So that's my thought on that. Other than that, I'm kind of tapped out.
Yeah, I know. I bet you are.
Do you have any other questions for me?
No, I think I just, like I said from the beginning of the show, I just think you are a huge inspiration, and I just wanted my audience to meet you and to feel inspired, because what I do know is that many of my ladies here in this group, they're struggling. And I know there's times that they are like, I want to give up, I want to quit. And
well, what are the things that you guys struggle with? That's maybe what
oh boy, we'll be here for another hour if we get on that topic. We'll take two more questions. Karen, I was wondering, because I have been diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome since I was 15 and now 36. I'm wondering if it's possible I was misdiagnosed. Possibly, but again, Karen, you've heard me say this like a jillion million times before. I would have to know so much more information, but once we talk, I will absolutely be able to figure that out. I'm really good at detecting and being a detective on that. But yeah, is it possible you could be diagnosed? Absolutely. But for you, I would say the first things you want to do is like what we said earlier, which is try for a month or even 3 weeks to eliminate wheat, gluten, and dairy. Because I think you're still eating wheat. I would try and see how you see if you feel any different before you go and run all these celiac tests and stuff. I just think try that first before you do anything else.
Well, and I know that things have come a long way since, even 5 years ago, even when I was diagnosed. So
yeah,
I just went through my experience. Like, they may do it totally different. But, and that was, I'm 43 now. Oh my God.
You're a puppy. You're a young pup.
Woof. I was like 28 when I got 25 or 28 when I got celiac or diagnosed with it.
And you got engaged in the hospital. You want to show them your ring? How pretty her little ring. Look at. Okay.
I don't know how to do this.
Up here. Just.
Oh.
Maybe that won't work. Okay. Anyway, she's got a really pretty. You could go like this. Go like.
Yeah.
See, let's go.
Yes. Oh, Lord. You're
See how pretty that is?
Embarrassing me.
So she got engaged in the hospital. How romantic is that? Like while she was in the hospital.
We thought about doing it like the perfect little story, and
that is a perfect little story.
Well,
seriously.
That's
perfect. That's like romantic as heck.
Well, women, how we are. We want the story, and I was like, screw the storybook. I want the reality, and that's what we did.
Awesome.
That's what we did.
And then, so do you have plan? Like when do you plan to get married? Are you do you have a date set?
Not
yet.
set, but thinking next June-ish, September-ish.
Awesome. It's gonna be so much fun. All right, one more question. Because of you, Terry, I pushed myself and I'll be 60 on Saturday. Congratulations. I feel I'm going to work on living my best life now. Oh, Alice, that's amazing. We love to hear success stories, right? Hashtag success. So I want you guys in this group to always, every day, hashtag a success story that you have. Share it with somebody else. And also, this group is also a place where you guys can ask questions and vent, but we aren't a negative Nelly group. We're not a play the victim, stay in victim mode type of group. You know that. This is one reason. Another reason why I'm always going to bring you, stories like this, because we don't stay in victim. I had cancer. I understand if I would have stayed in victim mentality, I would have not be where I am today. If Chris would have stayed in victim mentality, she will not be where she was today. So we are always here to inspire, encourage, uplift, and motivate you guys. And I'm so glad you were able to be on to meet my girl, Chris. And we'll do this again, because I would love to have you back when you've gotten through your surgeries and when you've written your book and we have to do a book tour or whatever. Whatever it is that you're going to do.
Yeah.
I know there's this priority right now is just still continue to get healthy, but you sure look amazing.
Thank you.
So proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm just proud.
Thank
and
you.
so happy and relieved. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for introducing me to everybody. If you guys all want to friend me on Facebook.
Yes. Oh, yes. I'll put her name in the comments. Also, do you have a Facebook page that you want them? Are you working on that? Are you still? Not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
So we'll just do her do her personal page, and then when she gets her business page all up and running, I can share that with you too. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. I think that's it for now. We don't have any other questions. You guys have been amazing. Hope this was inspiring for you all. We love you, and thanks again for your time. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Mwah.
Mwah. Wait, I gotta. Mwah. Outtakes. And